The galaxy was vast, filled with species that could move like shadows, vanishing when they needed to and hiding when their lives depended on it. Viarik, an alien of the highly evolved, sharp-minded Krith, sat in the dim, metallic quiet of their sanctuary, a place hidden so deeply in the stars that even light seemed to forget how to reach them. Yet, despite this solitude, an unyielding anxiety clawed at the minds of every Krith. Whispers filled their halls and echoed in their minds, rumors passed down from other civilizations of a species called humans. These stories held chilling similarities. No matter how remote the hiding place, no matter how sophisticated the cloaking technology, humans found them. The older Kriths spoke in hushed tones of encounters where entire species thought they were safe, but the humans arrived as if summoned by fate itself. Viarik had heard enough of these tales to know that they weren't mere stories, they were warnings. Krith elders were the first to confirm that what had happened to the Murlocs, a race renowned for their stealth, was no accident. The Murlocs had created a cloaked utopia, hidden in the folds of a dark nebula. They were proud, confident, and ultimately wrong. Humans had arrived, not with great fanfare, but with a cold, deliberate silence, dismantling every defensive protocol without a word. The Murlocs' colony hadn't even fired a warning shot before they were gone, consumed by humanity's relentless hunt. The Krith leaders had learned from those who remained. They developed technologies to outpace the Murlocs' cloaks, adding layers upon layers of countermeasures, as if they could somehow bury themselves out of sight. To Viarik, the result was impressive, a fortress within a fortress. Every system was cloaked, and the colony hummed with an energy almost unnatural in its harmony. But despite these precautions, a feeling lingered, that all their technology was simply a new flavor of desperation. Rumor also had it that a prophecy followed humanity's rise, words spoken by a once great species that no longer existed to repeat them. Humans will come, for humans see what is unseen. It was a simple phrase, whispered from galaxy to galaxy, as if it had a life of its own. Viarik often wondered if the phrase held a deeper truth. Did humans possess some ability that no technology could rival? Or was it simply that they refused to quit, to let any prey escape, even when it hid itself in the deepest shadows? Viarik had never seen a human, nor had any other Krith. They didn't know the face of their predator, only the grim tales it left behind. These accounts were enough to reshape the Krith's entire way of life, carving a culture of constant vigilance. Light suppression was standard practice. Their energy fields were calibrated to emit the faintest signatures, barely more than the cosmic background radiation. Movement was minimized, signals muted, all to keep their presence nothing more than a silent echo in the galaxy's vastness. They had even banned the use of certain frequencies known to reveal their location if scanned with a sharp enough lens. Yet despite the safeguards, the knowledge that humans could find them remained. It was an inescapable truth, woven into their daily routines, etched into their unspoken laws. Even the youngest among them knew that above all else, they had to stay hidden. But the question lingered, could they really? Every Krith knew of the species that had thought themselves safe, who lived under similar illusions. Those species now existed only in distant records. The Krith had also learned of the humans' use of stealth scouts, vessels engineered to observe from a distance, recording signals and patterns without being detected themselves. Humanity's scouts were rumored to float silently, nearly invisible, like ghosts in space. Some Krith whispered that humans had learned how to make their own ships appear like empty space, a technology unmatched by anything the galaxy had yet known. There were even rumors, absurd as they seemed, that humans had developed ways to read hyperspace trails, paths normally erased by cosmic forces, to trace ships long after they'd left an area. For the Krith, it was a nightmare personified, a monster that crept without making a sound. Despite all they had done to conceal themselves, the Krith could never quite erase that voice in the back of their minds. Viarik could feel it every time they adjusted their cloaking frequencies, every time a passing comet veiled their signals for an extra moment. The thought that humans might still see them persisted. It was as if they could sense the humans waiting in the stars, biding their time, learning the patterns of every fleeing species until the day they chose to act. One day, As Viarik moved through the empty corridors of their colony, he passed by an elder who looked at him with a grave expression. "Do you believe they're out there?" Viarik had asked. The elder's response was chillingly simple. "They're everywhere, child. And no one can hide forever." Those words stayed with Viarik, burrowing into his mind like an echo that refused to fade. He couldn't escape them, not in the quiet of his quarters, not in the emptiness of the cosmos. The Krith had perfected hiding like it was an art. No one, not even their own people, fully knew how deep their layers of concealment went. Their society operated on layers of secrecy, with most civilians understanding only a fraction of the intricate protocols in place. Viarik was among those who knew more. From the outside, their colony appeared as nothing more than faint background noise, camouflaged to blend seamlessly into the fabric of space itself. Their energy output was so minimal that even the nearby star systems wouldn't register them. But in the silence, the Krith felt a different kind of pressure, one that came from within. The Krith Council regularly met in private, holding confidential sessions on how best to avoid detection. They examined rumors and analyzed the newest possible sightings of human vessels, places humans were last seen or where a species mysteriously disappeared without a trace. Any hint that humans had been nearby caused an immediate uproar, sparking discussions on the best ways to remain hidden and debates on whether they should evacuate to even deeper reaches. In those moments, Viarik could feel the tension thickening, a constant reminder that no amount of technology would ever fully ease the fear of discovery. Every member of the colony was reminded of their responsibility to remain quiet, to avoid drawing even the faintest attention. The leaders implemented additional layers of stealth technology, adjusting their field modulations weekly to ensure no energy pattern remained detectable for too long. Viarik had personally seen the new defense arrays, systems designed not for fighting but for staying invisible. Everything was optimized for silence. It was a necessity that became their way of life, making their colony a fortress of solitude, locked in secrecy. The effects were everywhere. Entire sections of the colony had been shut down to reduce the possibility of stray signals. Key areas were masked by plasma field dampeners, each one recalibrated every cycle to maintain the delicate balance of invisibility. The Krith believed that with each layer added, they were another step ahead of humanity. It was as if they were building walls upon walls, invisible to the eye, yet omnipresent in their lives. But something haunted Viarik, a realization that his people's fear might eventually lead to their undoing. Paranoia was spreading. Many of the Krith feared even to leave their quarters for too long, dreading that a single mistake, a single miscalculation in protocol, might be enough to alert humans to their existence. The once vibrant colony had turned quiet, the usual hum of activity muted by a collective anxiety. Viarik overheard groups whispering, asking the same questions. What if the humans were already watching? What if their precautions were nothing but a fragile illusion? There were stories, shared in the dark corridors, of humans using methods no other species could comprehend. Tales circulated about devices that could detect even the slightest gravitational disturbance, or ships that could slip into warp without leaving a trail. One story claimed humans had developed technology to read the energy signatures left by even the quietest hyperspace jumps, effectively tracking ships long after they'd moved on. The Krith couldn't dismiss these stories outright. They didn't have the luxury of assuming myths weren't real. The council held private sessions where members debated the threat, some saying they should abandon the colony, leave everything, and disappear into the stars, constantly on the move. Others argued that running would only hasten their exposure, that no amount of running would keep them safe. In the end, they chose to dig deeper into their concealment efforts, burying their existence layer by layer, even if it meant sacrificing their freedom to live openly. Viarik had seen these debates spiral out, reaching a point where leaders would fall silent, too afraid to admit that they had no certainty. No one knew for sure if their methods were enough. No one knew if the humans would finally pass them by or come like a force that couldn't be avoided. It was a prison of their own making, one that grew with each new precaution, each new measure, as if every decision was only tightening the chains that bound them. One night, while adjusting a frequency dampener in an unused corridor, Viarik paused. His mind wandered, imagining what it would feel like if humans were already out there, watching and waiting. His pulse quickened. A thought crept into his mind, one he could barely allow himself to consider. Had humanity already found them, and were they simply waiting for the right moment to act? Viararik shook his head, dismissing the notion, but the seed of doubt was planted. A strange stillness had settled over the colony. Viararik sensed it, a subtle shift in the air that every Krith felt yet couldn't name. The usual quiet of their hidden lives seemed sharper, like something unseen was pressing against their sanctuary. Reports began circulating about minor disturbances, faint, inexplicable shifts in their energy fields, anomalies so subtle that most would have dismissed them. But the Krith were trained to notice every ripple, every whisper, and these shifts felt wrong, as if they were being observed. The council met in emergency sessions, and Viararik was there, listening as the elders argued about the strange disturbances. Some believed it was only a malfunction in their cloaking systems, a harmless glitch. But others, the veterans who had seen the fall of the murlocs and other species, were not so quick to dismiss the signs. They knew too well what it meant to ignore subtle warnings. With voices low and eyes wary, they exchanged fearful glances, realizing that they might be facing the very threat they had worked so tirelessly to avoid. The Krith scrambled to fortify their defenses. Engineers were summoned from every corner of the colony, tweaking and recalibrating the cloaking fields, adding extra layers of decoys in a desperate bid to mislead any potential scouts. They worked without pause, adjusting every last detail as if their lives depended on it. New decoys were launched, small drones designed to emit false signals, bait meant to divert attention from the true location of the colony. Viararik watched as these decoys floated away, little specks vanishing into the void, each carrying a fragment of hope that it might buy them more time. Anxiety gnawed at the colony. Conversations grew hushed, even among friends, as if words themselves could somehow betray them. Some of the younger Krith couldn't fully grasp the danger, but they were old enough to sense the fear that gripped their elders. The once active corridors became empty, with even casual meetings reduced to silent nods and hurried glances. Everyone knew something was coming, though none dared to voice it aloud. As the days wore on, the disturbances didn't disappear. They grew bolder, inching closer to the colony's hidden heart. Viararik felt it like a cold chill, the creeping realization that every measure, every precaution, was proving ineffective. The feeling was suffocating, pressing down on the colony with an invisible weight that each Krith carried. The council was left with no choice but to address the colony directly, urging them to remain vigilant and to prepare for anything. For the first time in Krith memory, the council openly admitted that they might not be safe. Some among them questioned if they should evacuate, abandon their sanctuary and scatter to distant corners of the galaxy. But even as the idea surfaced, they knew it was futile. Running had been the downfall of so many others. They'd heard the stories of fleets that thought they could escape, only to be hunted down, each hiding place discovered with frightening ease. Moving would only make them visible, like a signal flare in the darkness. The Krith had no choice but to face the reality they'd feared most. They had been found. Humanity's scouts were here, somewhere in the dark, moving with an unseen efficiency that eluded even their most sensitive detectors. Viararik's mind raced with questions. How had they managed it? How could humans have breached so many layers of concealment without alerting a single sensor? The answers seemed impossible, yet the evidence was undeniable. Something had pinpointed them, and that something was getting closer. The colony held its breath, waiting for the inevitable. Days stretched into tense, sleepless hours as everyone braced for whatever might come next. Viararik was stationed at a monitoring post, his eyes scanning the readouts, searching for any clue, any chance to understand their unseen pursuers. Yet the readings were blank, empty save for those faint, inexplicable distortions. Whatever was out there, it was beyond their ability to detect directly, a ghost moving in the spaces between their senses. Then, without warning, the faintest signal broke through, a ripple on the edge of their sensors, like a heartbeat echoing from deep within the void. Viararik's pulse raced. He knew, as did every other Krith watching, that this was no random anomaly. It was deliberate, a sign of something approaching with quiet, methodical precision. And then, as if acknowledging their surrender, the signal vanished. In the silence that followed, the Krith waited, a collective breath held as they clung to the hope that somehow they were wrong. But in their hearts they knew better. There was a finality in the quiet, a heaviness that settled over the colony like a shroud. Viarak could feel it, the dread that filled every chamber, every corridor, an unspoken certainty that their time had come. They were no longer hidden, they were simply waiting. And then it happened. Without a sound, shapes began to materialize against the backdrop of stars, sleek shadows slipping through the void with a precision that defied comprehension. Human ships, quiet and dark, emerged from the vastness like specters, each one moving with an intent that was unmistakable. They didn't blaze with weaponry, didn't announce their presence with blaring lights or shows of force. They simply arrived, as if they'd always been there, watching and waiting. The Krith monitors flickered with readings they'd never seen before, subtle distortions that disrupted their sensors just enough to be noticeable, yet not enough to reveal the full picture. It was as though the humans allowed themselves to be seen, letting the Krith glimpse them only to remind them who held the advantage. Viarak felt a chill as he watched the readings, a realization settling over him like a weight. This wasn't a hunt. It was a demonstration. Human ships slipped through the Krith defenses as if they weren't there, bypassing every layer of security, every cloaking field. The invisible fortress they built around themselves was meaningless in the face of humanity's approach. Viarak's mind raced, trying to understand how they had done it, how they could move with such confidence, dismantling each defense with calm efficiency. There was no aggression, no grand display of power, just a quiet, methodical progression that left no room for doubt. Around him, the other Krith were frozen, their fear palpable, a silent acknowledgement that they were utterly defenseless. Viarak felt a strange mix of awe and terror. There was a simplicity in humanity's approach, a ruthlessness that needed no words or weapons to make its point. Every step, every maneuver, spoke of a species that didn't see them as a threat, didn't even see them as worthy of a fight. The Krith had been preparing for a battle, but there was no battle to be had, only the quiet realization that they had never truly been hidden. The humans moved through the colony's perimeter, each ship gliding past the Krith defenses with an ease that bordered on arrogance. They scanned, observed, as if taking stock of their surroundings, learning every detail. Viarak watched as one of the human vessels passed close to his monitoring post, its dark hull reflecting nothing, absorbing all light like a void. There was no mistaking it. These ships were designed for more than war. They were designed to observe, to track, to find whatever they sought, no matter how deeply it was buried. In that moment, Viarak understood the stories that had haunted his people, the legends of human persistence, and their ability to find what others couldn't. There was a relentlessness to their methods, a determination that defied explanation. Humanity didn't need to destroy to win, they only needed to know, to let their presence speak for itself. It was a reminder that no amount of technology, no level of preparation, could hide from something that refused to stop looking. The ships moved on, passing through the colony's heart without a word, without firing a single shot. They left the Krith untouched, a silent message that was louder than any threat. Viarak felt a chill as he realized the purpose of their visit. They were making a statement, a declaration of power that left no room for misinterpretation. The Krith were not being hunted, they were being warned. As the last of the human ships slipped away, vanishing into the stars as silently as they had come, a profound silence settled over the colony. The Krith were left with nothing but the memory of what they had seen, a lesson that would echo through their lives, their culture, their very identity. They had tried to hide, to bury themselves in the void, but they had learned a truth that would haunt them forever. You could run, you could conceal, but from humanity, there was no escape. Viarak stood alone in the aftermath, a sense of profound humility filling him. Humanity's strength was not in their weapons or their technology. It was in their will, their unyielding drive to seek, to find, to leave nothing unseen. For the Krith, it was a revelation, a reminder that some forces in the universe could not be outrun or hidden from. Humanity was not just a threat, they were a force of nature, relentless and unstoppable.